So imagine you are in a concert hall. It's a beautiful concert hall, 1,000+ seats, a very tender color, green tea, matcha color and wood, and the concert hall is empty except for violin cases scattered everywhere on the seats. On stage you see an orchestra rehearsing, and at the back of the room you see me sitting there with 2 violins I built earlier that year for j.s.bach, and I'm wondering, will anyone come to try those instruments? Finally the rehearsal ends, which instantly creates this atmosphere of mutual discomfort, as musicians are doing their very best to pretend as if they have never met me before, or at least they don't even see that I am in the concert hall. At last, a lady approaches me in her 50s, a very sportive outfit, sportive short haircut, and she says, "Dmitry, please understand, many musicians here are interested in your instruments, in your keynotes, but we cannot come to your keynotes, we cannot try your instruments unless the superiors show their interest first. Because if we do, this will be seen as a major transgression here in Japan, and we have to be careful about our jobs. Good luck." And she leaves me, feeling completely perplexed, and finally I understand what a fool I am. I was teaching at that prestigious University of Fine Arts and Music in Tokyo for 5 years, and only now I understand why in 5 years there were never participants from that university. What if the superiors instructed their students to boycott my lectures? Of course, hierarchies first, music last. But anyway, how does that thinking is going to help me to deliver my very last lecture at the university before I move back to Europe? So I reach out for the phone. Moshi moshi. Hi. Do you have a moment? I will call you later. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. In this case, I will be really brief. Look, Tomoe. Yeah, I'm about to give the lecture, the last lecture at the university. I prepared several instruments, even very early Baroque violin with 3 strings, with dozens of string sets, because I wanted to demonstrate musicians all these different sonorities from the late 15th, early 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. But look, if the audience is again just singers and keyboard players and conductors, then I have no idea how I'm going to play duos, let alone any concert music. So I was wondering if you would be willing to participate and maybe help me. Come on, no, don't say that. I really love the way you play, so that is really not an issue. So it's on the 17th at 3 o'clock. Really? Oh, that would be fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Okay. じゃあね、本当にありがとう。じゃあ、bye. See you at the university. Yeah, bye. I had no idea what devastating consequences this short phone call would lead to in the most positive way. Finally, the day of the lecture comes, and the room, to my surprise, is full, and there are even string players from that university. I don't know why. Maybe they heard that this was my very last lecture. So either way, we begin playing. And this is a sonic journey as we start playing music by Palestrina, Orlando di Lasso, Ogham, Lully, Monteverdi, Bach, Handel, Beethoven, Mozart, you name it. It's just a sonic journey through centuries of music, trying all these different violins with entirely different historical setup. And at the end of this day, we are both on the very last train in Tokyo, grabbing to the handrail overhead and swinging in rhythm with the movement of the train, street lights flying outside the window, reflecting in her long black hair. Tomoe, I would like to give this to you as a gift. Thank you so much. Wow, Dmitry, is this a violin or viola scroll? It's a violin scroll. Why is it so beautiful? Thank you so much, Tomoe. It's beautiful because it's proportional, and I could give you the proportions of this scroll as a numerical ratio, so I could give you measurements in millimeters, or I could simply sing it to you. Wow, really? So how would you sing the proportions of this scroll? The proportions of this scroll would be mi, fa, la, wow, wow. But if I sing the F a little bit lower or a little bit higher, would the shape of the scroll change? Yes, of course, Tomo, it will change. And will the sound also change? Well, of course it will change, especially if we also modify the rest of the instrument, not just the scroll. Wait a second. But how do you sing the rest of the instrument? She asks. And this is where I freeze. I freak out. I didn't know. I never thought about this. Look, at this point in my career as an instrument maker, you could give me a scroll from an incognito instrument, and just from that scroll I would be able to reconstruct the rest of the instrument to the last detail. I could translate any ratio into intervals and chords and melodies, but I never thought to translate the rest of the instrument into a melody. At the back of my mind, I hear train announcement. まもなく次の駅は立川駅です。立川駅です。お忘れ物にご注意ください。Suddenly I come back to the reality, and this is the last train. This is my stop. I cannot possibly miss my stop because otherwise I will not make it home. So I jump out from the train, getting squeezed in the closing doors. We both laugh, and I just cannot go home. Outside the station, in the park, I find a patch of lush green grass under a street light, completely alone, except for the choir of invisible crickets in the bushes. I take the violin out and I start measuring. And I didn't have any measuring tools, so I start measuring it with my fingers. And I just can't believe my eyes, and I just can't believe my ears. It's not just the scroll that you can translate into a tune. The whole model of the violin sang a melody, and not just any melody, the melody because of which I became a musician to begin with, the melody I have known all my life by my most favorite composer. And I sat there and just tears of profound gratitude and happiness trickled down my face. How is this even possible? Such a simple question from someone I love so dearly answers the Rostropovich question, the question that burned inside me for 20 years. So, what is the key takeaway of that story? What is it that the masters knew? How did the masters think? Here's the key takeaway. Write this down. Moderns copy idols. Masters thought in harmonies, copying the creator to craft timeless instruments. Others copy. Write this down, because this will be your game changer, and this is what has taken careers of so many other luthiers to a completely different level, and it will also help you. And you might be sitting there and feeling skeptical. Yes, Dmitry, but wait a second. I don't know any musicians in my surrounding who care about culture. The only thing that matters to musicians is whether it sounds or it doesn't sound. And if that's your thinking, you are half right. But when you ask musicians, so if sound to music is what ink to a book, are you still saying that ink is all that matters, not what you write with it? Either way, you are right. And there are two kinds of musicians. The question is which one you want to attract and you want to work with.